Hello and welcome to Ginny's Gin Livestream. I'm Ginny, and along with Rob, my husband, and Jeff and Amy Close, our dearest friends, we formed Ginny's Gin a few years back. And here we are, still at it, drinking gin, selling gin, all that good stuff. And so thank you to Vincent, our friend, who told me that it's Shark Week this week. Who knew? Those wonderful predators. And so he's like, you have to do a cocktail for Shark Week. And hey, always up for a challenge. I figured that would be kind of fun. And so I have this very briny cocktail for you, a briny martini. But as a scuba diver, I actually have had my own encounters with sharks. I got my first scuba diving, my basic scuba diver, if you like, my certification. I got that when I was 20 years old. There's the proof. I got it when I was 20. And that was in Antigua, and that's a whole other story. And then when I was 30, I did my advanced PADI certification, open water diver, and I got that when I was 30, and I did that in the Cayman Islands. So, you know, on various occasions, there was one dive that I did in Indonesia that was actually designed to go and find and observe at a distance the sharks. Because they knew where their line was. And then there was another time when we were in Hawaii and we were actually in the caves where they were only nurse sharks, you know, they're not.
They were white-tip sharks.
They were white tips, were they?
Yeah, they were 7 feet long.
Yeah, no, they were nice, good-looking sharks, and we were right there in the cave with them. So that was kind of cool. You know, and sharks get a bad rap, don't they? Because, you know, all the bad sharks, there are so few of them that actually do attack humans. I think it's, obviously it's the great white, and then there's the bull shark too. They've been known to attack humans. And then the tiger shark, of course.
Tigers.
Yeah, tiger sharks are pretty mean. But in general, I mean, they're an amazing species. They obviously are predators, but they're very cool, and I have enjoyed observing them before. So if it's Shark Week, you know, I've got to think of something to do with the ocean, and we don't live that far away from the Pacific Ocean. And when the kids were little, I would take the boys and we would go and play in the tide pools over, you know, there's a number of beaches obviously nearby, but Shell Beach is the one that sort of came to mind. So I looked at the tide tables and found out when low tide was going to be, and I went down, and first of all I did actually check to make sure that I was able to harvest seaweed. So yes, indeed you can in California. It is legal to harvest seaweed for your own, you know, personal consumption. So that was cool. But when I went down to the beach, there weren't many people there. I went, you know, as I say, at low tide. But I was there with some scissors and a bag. And I wondered whether anybody would stop me or sort of look at me sideways, but it was all good. And obviously the low tide revealed all kinds of fun stuff. Sea cucumbers and starfish and what have you. Lots of crabs hiding in the rocks. So I was like a little girl again. I got my seaweed and I was just playing in the tide pools. So obviously it doesn't take much to amuse me. So what am I going to do? So I did a little research, and there are actually, in fact, gins out there that have been infused with certain types of seaweed. But I figured I could just infuse our gin with the seaweed. So I came back with my bounty, and I obviously rinsed it out and everything. And I infused the gin for about 6 hours. It does take on this sort of yellowy green color, which is kind of cool. Some of the recipes that I looked at said to infuse the seaweed for 2 weeks, but it imparted its briny character, its ocean character, really rather quickly. After six hours, I was like, okay, I can definitely taste the ocean. And in fact, so much so that I think what I'm going to do with this martini is I'm going to do half of the seaweed infused gin and then half of the regular gin. And I'm actually going to make what they call a wet cocktail, a wet martini. So a dry martini is pretty much where you wave the bottle of vermouth in the direction of Italy, or at least, you know, you put a little vermouth in there and then swill it out and, you know, use it for something else. But in this case, I'm actually going to embrace the vermouth in the martini. So actually, I believe that, I beg your pardon, a wet martini is when you have equal parts of vermouth and gin. And I understand that Prince Charles likes to drink those at his events. He doesn't want to get too hammered, obviously, and so half and half is good. Now, when you do more vermouth than you do gin, which obviously is in favour of the vermouth producers, thank you, Marshall, because, you know, depletions on their vermouth, if you're drinking more of that, is good. That's actually called a reverse or an upside down martini, which I did not know that. So I've already given a shout out to Marshall with his vermouth, but there's another producer in the Napa Valley, and this was a gift. Jennifer, thank you so much. And this is, let me see, I'm going to read this to you because I won't do it justice otherwise. So it's Marsican, and it's actually produced by Dan Prochowski, and he is a winemaker. And so it's kind of fun that we're having, you know, gin is gin, which is also a winemaker recipe. And then we're going to have the vermouth, which is a winemaker recipe as well. So I am going to read this to you, but I've got to put my glasses on and I don't have them. So 1 second. Where are my glasses? Okay. Talk about yourselves. Okay, here we go. So, Napa Valley, dry white vermouth. Inspired by the original Italian vermouth made in Piedmont in the 18th century, our vermouth begins as a dry white wine that we fortify with a proprietary maceration of aromatic bitter herbs and spices. Some ingredients include coriander, nutmeg, and orange peel. I like that because we have coriander, obviously, in the gin, in both gins. And then it's aged in French oak barrels, and just before bottling, a small percentage of sugar is added to help soften the bitterness. So this is what I'm going to use today in our martini. And I'm not, you know, there's more martini, there's more vermouth, but there's more gin, but I'm just adding a little more vermouth than I normally would. So the glass that I picked out is this martini glass, and I rather liked it because much like I love the two, so you've got high tide and you've got low tide. So that's why this glass is perfect for the job. And then the sort of piece de resistance, if you like, is caviar gems. So some sharks eat sturgeon. And of course, caviar comes from sturgeon. And caviar gems is a hydrated form of caviar, which is actually harvested from... What? Dehydrated, I'm sorry. Dehydrated. And so it's shelf stable. You can keep it in the pantry. And what I've done just before starting is I have rehydrated them by putting them in some gin. I actually put them in estregin. So they're all plumped up again now, and we're going to use that as, we're going to pour that into the martini at the end. So Paulina, thank you for the caviar gems, and you can go to caviargems.com if you wanted to buy some of these and use them on your salads or on your fish, meat, whatever. It just adds a whole other layer to this martini, so very fun. What's that? Right. Okay, so we're going to start with the martini, and you know there's a lot of talk out there about, you know, shaken or stirred, and obviously James Bond is shaken not stirred, but in fact it really should be, for the gin's sake, it should be stirred because you want to, you don't want to agitate it that much, so stirring it over ice is a far better idea. So we're going to start out, and as I mentioned, I'm going to start out with the seaweed-infused gin, and I'm going to do 2 ounces of that, and then I'm going to do 2 ounces of estrogen. Now, the thing about seaweed is that it's a superfood. It's really, really good for you. It's packed with nutrients and antioxidants and fiber even as well, and lots of vitamins. But what's really good for us ladies is that it's high in iodine. And iodine is very good for your thyroid. And ladies, what does the thyroid do? It tells your hormones. I mean, it's good for your hormones. So, well, it basically regulates your hormones. So I think we should definitely be eating and drinking seaweed when we get to a certain age, right? So estrogen and seaweed, it's all going in the right direction. All right, so we're going to start out with 2 ounces of seaweed infused gin. Oh, I have to tell you. So I was going to wear my wetsuit for this. But yeah, I broke out into a sweat really rather quickly. So anyway, I kept my hair wet though, at least, so that's good. And I don't even have my mask or snorkel on, and the only reason for that is because it's in storage. So you're lucky I didn't do that. But just to let you know how I like doing these things. So 2 ounces of the infused gin, 2 ounces of the regular gin. And you know, I don't think there's many people that are going to go out and get some seaweed and infuse their gin, but I just thought it was kind of fun. And you know, it's all Vincent's fault because I wanted to do a briny cocktail for Shark Week and honour the sharks. And some of which are endangered too, by the way. Okay, 2 ounces of regular estregin. There we go. And then I'm just going to do an ounce of the vermouth, the Marsican vermouth, which I actually really like. And what I'd like to do actually is, I'd like to do like a vermouth thing. Maybe get some of the producers, local producers over here, and we'll do like a collaboration or something on our live stream. That would be kind of fun. Okay, so there's an ounce of the vermouth. And you know, for you, you can decide however much you want to do. Do you want to do equal parts, 50-50, or more vermouth, less gin, whatever you fancy, or very tiny, weeny bit of vermouth. So I'm going to add some ice to that, and I'm going to chill it down by stirring it. Here we go. Okay. There are 10,000 different species of seaweed. What I learned was that all seaweed is edible. And this was fairly important, obviously, because of my hiccup with the elderflower and me getting a little sick on that. So Rob was like, you better check and make sure that everything you put in there is actually
Seaweeds
edible.
are edible, but they're a strong diuretic. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that would be elderflower. So yes, they're all edible, which was great. It's legal to harvest them here in California. And they're super good for you. It's a superfood. So that's kind of cool. And it's good for women's health as well. So I have a whole bunch of, I don't know if any of you saw the post that I did. Look at the Facebook post and the Instagram post, because in the jar where I infused it, I had probably 7 different seaweeds in there. So I had kelp in there, I had eelgrass, which was super cool when the tide was coming, you know, where the water was coming in and out. They're just these long strands of grass. It's kind of cool. Bladderwax in there, and then I also had some grapestone and purple lava and some sea cabbage as well. So it was very fun. Lots going on. Okay, so we're just stirring that for 20 seconds, nice and cold. The sea cabbage is also called sweet kombu. I don't know if you know that. Rob's very into Japanese food. He did a couple of summers over there, and so and we love, obviously, Japanese food as well. Okay, so that's nice and cold, and I'm going to strain it into my martini glass right here, which normally would be nicely chilled in the freezer, and you would take it out of the freezer just before serving. But obviously for ease here, it's right in front of me. Okay, so I'm going to strain it in here. It's kind of a cool colour. And the high and low tide marks are fun. So, 2 things I'm going to do with this to really kick it up a notch is I pickled a little piece of seaweed right here. Can you see that? So when you pickle something, it's basically you're using vinegar and sugar and water, and then you can put sort of little spices and what have you if you want to in here. I decided to do coriander seeds because we have coriander in the gin already, and then some peppercorns. You could even do the different peppers that we have, the grains of paradise in both the gins as well, and then a little mustard seed as well. And so this has been pickling for a day or 2, and this is going to be my garnish. But first of all, I'm going to put the caviar gems in. Here's the caviar gems here. So just to add even a little bit more brininess, which is kind of fun. Let's do this. There we go. Ooh, yes. So we have the stirred gin caviar, and we have the seaweed infused gin martini, and now we have our garnish of pickled seaweed. So I think I'm going to lay that like that. Ta-da! So very briny, very oceany, very cool. Thank you, Vincent, for the challenge. And of course, I have to call this the Sharktini, right? In honor of Shark Week. So there it is. And we're going to taste that in a bit. Okay, Rob, you're going to take it away.
Hey everybody. I don't really feel like doing it today, but I'm going to. So, and then I get to benefit from the drink. So yesterday I was kind of, Jenny asked what I was going to make, and I kind of just looked around for what were the ingredients that we had, and Karen and Lou had some beautiful white peaches that they gave Jenny, and I just peeled one. It's ripe where you just pull the peel right off with a knife. And then we're gonna take a little bit of Ginny's gin, and we are going to, of course, I don't have my measuring cup. Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna put a little bit of gin. I think that the perfect amount for this drink is 3 ounces. So you could scale it back if you want to, make it a half that much. And then just, I think you take, what I did last night was I took about 3/4 of a peach, maybe a little tiny bit more than that. The reason for that is before it goes in the drink, you just kind of have to make sure that it's good. Yummo, a really, really nice peach. And just slide your peaches in there, and the alcohol just helps to like extract it a little bit better and just muddle it up real nice. And then in your mixing tin is fine. You can do it in a little glass jar if you want to, but I think this works great. And then take your other half of your tin and put your strainer there, and just, you don't have to mush it up so crazy because we're gonna mush it through the strainer anyway. So all the gin kind of went in, and you know, some people worry that a little bit of their gin might stick to the fruit and they might not get their full amount of ounces, so you can always put like an extra little splash just in case, or you can be twice as happy. And then just take your muddler and just push all the liquid through. And peach is pretty easy to do compared to some things like blackberries are pretty tough. And then once you feel like you've gotten pretty much of your yield, and maybe that's the holdback that stays in the pulp, maybe that is equal to the little bit that I added. So you just really want to squeeze it good just to get all the yummy peach juice out of there. Okay, so that's that. And then to that, I have already taken a nice lemon, and I have 1.5 ounces of lemon juice, and that goes in the drink. And then just my simple syrup that Jenny's grabbing from the refrigerator. We're gonna take our 1 large ice cube and the 2 little cute ones that I have, and chuck them in the mixing tin. We're gonna throw in about, we call that 3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup. So, you know, if you did a regular sized drink, it'd be 1/2 ounce simple syrup, 1 ounce of lemon, and 2 ounces of gin would be one drink. I just always do 1.5 because it fills the glasses and it looks nicer. My frozen glass is right in the very bottom of the, and then, yeah, we'll just give it a little mix because it's pretty concentrated this way, so I think kind of diluting it before you put it in the Tom Collins glass is kind of a good thing. All the way to the very, very bottom and back. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Jenny. Okay, and I actually took 2 big fat clear ice cubes and just cracked them without breaking the glass this time in advance, and just put it in the freezer to keep it till I needed it. And there we go. We open up our tin, and there goes our peach. Ooh, look at the nice peach color too. And you know, just a little splash of club soda, give a little frizziness on top. There's your fresh Napa Valley white peach, and then I love this. I think I showed everybody the burrish flowers, which is the companion plant for tomatoes. And the ones that we had last year were all the flowers were little purple flowers like that. And then I read that sometimes you'll get multiple color flowers on one plant, and this year we did. We have the pink and the purple. I think they both look awesome in there, so I'm just going to drop them back in there. And then peach, I mean, mint is fine, but I kind of think of peach and I think, wow, basil. So just to put a nice aroma on the top of your drink, and there is our peach drink and it's not very sharky, but it's right next to a shark. So be careful. It could be dangerous. That's it.
Awesome.
Those are our...
So, you know, we love it, and thank you to our friends for when they gift us things. Thank you for the peaches. And Karen and Lou also gave us this book. It's called Shrubs. And so I will do a shrub cocktail, or a cocktail with a shrub in it, next week. So thank you for that. And then you got a gift yesterday.
Yeah, and so we have really, really close friends of ours who have a beautiful apple tree in their backyard, and they're kind of the nice sour ones that are good for making cider. And so they worked in collaboration with another friend who works at one of the really cool kind of lab/supply houses for winemakers, and they collaborated to make, and I'll tell who they are next week, but a pet nat style of cider. So what he did was he took the fermenting apple cider and then bottled it while it was heavily carbonated near the end of the fermentation. And I think he said 2.4 grams of per liter of residual sugar. So that then it finishes in the bottle, and they cap it. It finishes fermenting in the bottle. There's a tiny bit of sediment, so it's very natural because you don't have to add any SO2 as a preservative because it's not going to get oxidized. It's full of CO2, and yeah, it's really cool.
It's good.
So we're gonna try to. We're not gonna try. We're gonna make a really cool drink out of this.
Yeah.
And gin, of course.
Yep.
Next week. So pet nat, and there's wines made like that. And now that I've kind of gotten introduced to this, I'm like, man, I really want to try that. Yeah.
So yeah, if anybody wants to contribute or send ideas or have you, feel free. Well, we're up for the challenge, obviously, and
or if they want to start a pet nat business, I could be your winemaker. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Too.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So cheers to Vincent for the idea. Cheers to Paulina for the caviar. Cheers to Dan Petrosky for the vermouth. And then obviously our friends Lou and Karen for the peaches. And yeah, it's all good, right? Share and...
Well, it's kind of a good looking drink there, both of those.
Yeah, hopefully that will make you feel better. Sorry, honey, that you don't feel good.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody. Cheers to the weekend. Cheers to Shark Week. And we'll see you next week. And tune in then. Okay, cheers. And this was very briny. Do you want to taste this?
Yes, of course.
No, honey, it's all good. I like it. Okay, guys. See you next week.